By the time the cops kicked my back door in, the HOA president was already screaming in the cellar. Not like normal screaming. I'm talking weaponized shrieking, punctuated by hissing, thumping, and this wet, biological sound I recognized immediately. Because I'd heard it before. The officer said while covering his nose with his sleeve as a smell rolled up the cellar stairs like a physical force, "Stay back, sir." "It's skunk spray," I warned. "Multiple skunks. Probably a lot of them." From the darkness below, HOA President Linda Pennington howled that he's keeping wild animals and this is illegal and I'm the president of, oh God, it's in my mouth. Another spray sound. Another scream. The officers winced. One gagged. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Basement cam motion alert, 11:42 p.m. I tapped the notification. The screen lit up with a shaky night vision view of my cellar. 6 skunks in full defensive formation. A tipped-over shelf. And crouched between my water heater and an old box of Christmas decorations, Linda Pennington in a floral blouse and tennis skirt, drenched, eyes wild, clutching her phone like a crucifix. She'd broken into my house to spy on me. She just hadn't checked who already lived down there. My name is Marcus Hale, 34, quiet IT consultant, part-time woodworker, full-time avoider of people. I bought a small 2-story place in Cedar Ridge Estates because the listing said peaceful community, mature trees, quiet neighbors. What it didn't say was run by an HOA president who treats binoculars like a personality trait. Enter Linda Pennington. Mid-50s, blonde bob, Fitbit that she uses exclusively to count how many compliance walks she takes a day. She lives 2 streets over but somehow knows the serial numbers on everyone's lawn equipment. The very first day I moved in, she introduced herself like this. "I'm Linda, HOA president. I'm just so glad a single man bought the place. Families tend to clutter the street with toys." I said nice to meet you, which was my first mistake. Within a week I got a violation notice for my trash can being visible from the street for more than 11 minutes. I got an email reminding me outdoor lighting must be elegant, not industrial after I installed a single motion light near the back door. I got a pink slip on my door about curtain color harmony because my blackout curtains were a dark navy. I work from home, keep to myself, and my wildest hobby is sanding cutting boards while listening to podcasts. But according to Linda's brain, single man plus closed blinds plus basement lights sometimes on at weird hours equaled something sinister. Then the skunks moved in, and everything got worse. It started with a scratching noise under the house. I thought it was raccoons. Turned out to be skunks. I called wildlife control, and the guy came out, took one look under my back deck, and sighed. "Good news and bad news," he said. "Good news, they're not in your walls. Bad news, it's mating season. You've got a little skunk commune going. Can you move them?" I asked. He shook his head. "Not right now. State regulations. You can't just trap and relocate them in mating season. They abandon babies, and then it's worse. Best thing is to give them a safe exit path. Don't disturb them, let the season pass. I'll email you the official guidelines." So I did exactly that. I cleared a part of my cellar that connected to the old foundation vent, set up a low barrier so they'd stay contained, and let the wildlife expert place a couple of humane one-way doors. My cellar basically became temporary skunk Airbnb with a strict do not disturb policy. I forwarded the email from Wildlife Services to the HOA, just in case someone freaked out. That someone was Linda. She cornered me on my driveway a day later. "You're harboring wild animals," she said. "I'm complying with state wildlife regulations," I said calmly. "They're contained and scheduled to move on." I sent the email. She smiled the kind of smile people reserve for pyramid schemes. "Well, we have community rules about pests." "These aren't pests," I started. "They're protected during." "But," she interrupted, leaning in, "if it disturbs neighbors or lowers property values, the board can require removal." Over the next week, I noticed Linda doing slow drive-bys with her phone up, recording. 2 neighbors suddenly concerned about strange smells even on days where all I smelled was fresh mulch. A next-door post titled "Anyone else concerned about biohazards in Cedar Ridge" with a skunk emoji. Meanwhile, I was being obnoxiously compliant. Printed copy of the wildlife regulations taped to the cellar door. Carbon monoxide detectors tested. Extra filters in the furnace. Inside the house, I added 2 more cameras. One in the cellar, one in the stairwell. Mostly in case any raccoons decided to join the party, but also because Linda's fixation was starting to feel less concerned citizen and more unpaid stalker. Then the notices escalated. Potential nuisance odors. Remedy within 72 hours. Unregistered use of lower structure. Disclosure demanded. Excessive privacy measures because I kept my blinds closed in the evening. Privacy was the point. Especially after the day I caught Linda standing on the sidewalk with opera binoculars aimed straight at my living room. She waved when she noticed me. "I'm just checking the roofline for moss," she called. "My roof faces the opposite direction." I started saving everything. Emails, photos, next-door posts. I had a feeling this was heading somewhere stupid. I just didn't realize somewhere stupid meant HOA Karen hiding in my skunk cellar like a raccoon with a clipboard. The day it really tipped over, I received an official HOA letter by certified mail. The board has received credible reports of unauthorized animals, possible code violations, and suspicious activity in your basement. You are required to allow HOA inspection of your premises within 48 hours. Underlined was refusal to comply will result in fines and potential legal action. I emailed back, saying the City Code Enforcement Office, the Wildlife Services Officer, and my very bored but very competent real estate attorney. My reply was civil but firm. The HOA has no authority to inspect the inside of my home. I'm following state wildlife laws. Documented. Any attempt to enter my home without my consent will be treated as trespassing. The attorney replied, "Bless him. Mr. Hale is correct. Any board member entering his property or structure without permission assumes full personal liability and may be subject to criminal charges. I strongly advise against it." Linda didn't respond. Not by email, anyway. That night, I went out for my usual late run at around 10:30 p.m. I locked the doors, turned on the porch cameras, and left. Calm, quiet, routine. What I didn't know yet, what my cameras did know, was this. At 10:41 p.m., Linda approached my back door with a flashlight between her teeth and a small keyring in her hand. At 10:43 p.m., she tried the handle, found it locked, and muttered, "Fine, we'll do this the hard way." At 10:45 p.m., she found the old, rarely used cellar bulkhead door around the side of the house. I'd added a padlock, but it was old. She popped it with something metal from her keyring and eased the door open. The camera in the stairwell caught her silhouette as she descended, muttering to herself, "I'll get the proof. You can't just say laws and think I'll back down. I am compliance." She reached the bottom of the stairs, turned, and opened the inner door to the cellar. The cellar camera clicked on. Night vision. 6 reflective eyes turned toward her at once. She froze. The skunks did not. One scurried closer, tail twitching in that slow, ominous way that should be taught in every childhood safety class. Oh no," she whispered. "You're not supposed to be in here." Linda stepped over the low barrier, deeper into the cellar, phone recording. She started narrating like a nature documentary filmed by someone with zero survival instinct. "This is clear evidence of dangerous wildlife harboring. Something thumped upstairs, probably just the furnace kicking on, but the sudden noise, plus the light, plus her fast movements. Let's just say the skunks collectively voted that the HOA was, in fact, a threat to public safety." The cellar camera caught it all. One skunk lifting its tail. Linda's eyes widening in slow-motion horror. The first high-pressure spray hitting her square in the chest. She screamed, panicked, slipped on a stray tarp, and knocked over a shelf, which startled the rest of the skunks, who responded with the only tool in their toolbox. It was like someone detonated a biological weapon in a Home Depot aisle. By the time I got back from my run, neighbors had already called the police about screaming and a gas leak. I showed up to flashing lights in front of my house and 3 neighbors standing in their driveways with oven mitts pressed over their noses. The cop at my door looked grim. "Sir, we got multiple calls about distress sounds and possible hazardous fumes. We need to check the property for safety." I stepped aside. Yeah, it's not gas. It's, you'll see. He started down the stairs and stopped halfway, eyes watering. What is that? Skunks, I said. This way. We reached the cellar door just as another high-pitched shriek came from the other side. If anyone can hear me, I need medical. These creatures are attacking a community official. The officer exchanged a look with me. Is that Linda? Linda Pennington, HOA president, I confirmed. She shouldn't be in my house. We opened the door. There she was. Makeup streaked. Hair plastered to her head with skunk oil. Blouse ruined. Sitting on an overturned milk crate surrounded by skunks who now didn't even care she existed. She tried to straighten up, somewhat defeated by the laws of biology. I was conducting an inspection, she said weakly. The officer's bodycam recorded every syllable. So you entered this residence without permission, went into the basement, and disturbed the wildlife. She coughed, gagging. He's breaking codes. I had to document, hack, cough, hazard. Behind the officer, the wildlife services guy, same one who'd helped me, appeared in the doorway, summoned by dispatch. He took one long sniff, sighed, and said, "Ma'am, you do realize you just interfered with protected wildlife during mating season? That's not good. For you." Linda tried to pull rank. "I'm the HOA president of Cedar Ridge." The cop raised a hand. "Ma'am, that's not a legal title." He turned to me. "Mr. Hale, did you give her permission to enter your home?" "No," I said. "In fact, my attorney explicitly warned the HOA not to." I pulled up the email on my phone and held it out. The officer read it, glanced at his bodycam, then looked back at Linda. "All right. Ma'am, for your safety and everyone else's, we're going to get you out of here, and then we're going to have a conversation about trespassing, breaking and entering, and wildlife violations." They half-guided, half-dragged her up the stairs as she wheezed and sputtered, leaving a visible trail of skunk stench behind. By the time paramedics arrived to hose her down in the street with a makeshift concoction of peroxide and dish soap, half the cul-de-sac had their phones out. Someone whispered, "Is that our HOA president?" Someone else said, "Was." The official fallout came in stages, but the karmic payoff? That was instant. Within 24 hours, the bodycam footage made it to city code enforcement. Wildlife Services filed a report, and my attorney sent a very polite letter that started with "as previously noted" and went downhill for Linda from there. At the emergency HOA meeting the following week, I showed up and sat near the front. The air in the clubhouse still faintly smelled like citrus cleaner and desperation. The vice president, a guy named Don who always looked like he wanted to be anywhere else, cleared his throat. "Before we begin, standard agenda items, we need to address the incident at Mr. Hale's residence." Linda sat at the end of the table, wearing sunglasses indoors like a celebrity in disgrace. Her hair was slightly darker now. Skunk remediation shampoo, probably. Don hit play on a projector. First clip, Cellar cam. Linda slipping in through the bulkhead door, narrating her investigation, ignoring the printed wildlife notice on the wall. Second clip, the spray event. They graciously muted the audio, but the visual was vivid enough. The entire room flinched in unison when the skunk tails went up. Third clip, bodycam. Linda announcing she was conducting an inspection. The officer clarifying she had no legal right to be there. Wildlife Services politely explaining she'd violated state regulations while also getting annihilated by nature's tiny artillery. By the end of the montage, the room was dead quiet except for one suppressed snort of laughter near the back. Don sighed. Per our bylaws, the president must demonstrate good judgment and respect for homeowner privacy and legal boundaries. Given recent events, and the multiple citations the board has received from the city and the state, I move that Linda be removed as HOA president, effective immediately. He didn't even finish the sentence before someone said second. The vote was 5-0. Linda's jaw dropped. You're all just going to let him harbor animals and ignore. My attorney, sitting beside me, lifted a folder. Here are the wildlife permits and state guidelines. And here, he said, placing another sheet gently on the table, is the criminal complaint for trespassing, B&E, and interference with protected wildlife. Linda turned to the room for backup. Nobody here is comfortable with a skunk nest in the neighborhood, right? An older woman raised her hand. I was less comfortable with you trying to break into my garage last year to check for unauthorized freezers, so I'm good with the skunks. Murmurs of agreement. It turned out I wasn't the first person she'd inspected. I was just the first one with cameras, legal backup, and a basement full of biological justice. By the end of the meeting, the board voted to ban unannounced property inspections permanently, prohibit any board member from entering a homeowner's dwelling under any circumstances, and issue a formal apology to me for overreach and distress caused. The city slapped Linda with a trespassing charge, a misdemeanor for wildlife harassment, and a fine of $4,000. Linda stood there, still wearing her sunglasses, mouth opening and closing like a fish. $4,000, she repeated in disbelief. Her voice cracked. Plus probation. Plus community service at the county animal shelter. The judge had been very specific about that part. She'd be cleaning cages and doing laundry for animals. For 6 months. Linda's face went pale. The room stayed silent. No one defended her. No one protested. She grabbed her purse with shaking hands and walked out without another word, leaving behind only the faint smell of failure and discount tomato juice shampoo.